U.S. Supreme Court. That ruling overturned a ban on interracial marriage that had been in place in most states in this country. But even before the ruling, couples of different races were getting married, some going to great lengths to hide their differences in order to do so. Sociologist Cathy Tashiro is seen here as a child with her parents, interviewed a number of people who either broke the law or found some other way to be with the ones they love. And the result is a new book, Standing on Both Feet, Voices of Older Mixed-Race Americans. Please welcome author and sociologist Cathy Tashiro. Hi, it's so nice to meet you. It's such an important topic, and it's important to note that even when the Supreme Court ruled, the vast majority of Americans were still against interracial marriage. So, I mean, we had such a long way to come. What prompted you to write this book?
Well, some of it was just my own curiosity. You know, I'm a person of mixed race myself, as you saw from the picture. And there's a lot that's been written about people of mixed race in the last 20 years, lots of great books and articles, but they predominantly focus on younger people, not surprisingly, who have been born since the lifting of the 1967 lifting of the ban on interracial marriage. And I felt that there were some things missing from the experience of having grown up in a time when interracial marriage was really frowned upon, when the boundaries between the races were very strict, and establishing coherent identity could be challenging.
Right.
And I was curious whether other people my age and older.
I think that's what's fascinating, is that as this becomes a more common experience, it's different than it was for people who, in some cases, you write about people having to try to change their appearance to sort of pass for another race so that people wouldn't, so that they could just get married because it was illegal, and so that they could escape whatever sociological punishment was coming their way.
Right.
And that's amazing to me. What was it like for you growing up?
Well, for me growing up, I grew up on the East Coast and in a very small town where there were no other minorities. And people in my town knew who I was, but when I would go to other towns, I would get strange comments and kind of, what are you?
I was going to say, that seems like the question I remember hearing growing up. Well, what is she? I don't know, a human being, I think. But,
And my mother, who is white, would get asked sometimes if we were adopted, and that was something that I heard a lot in the stories of the people I interviewed as well. In fact, one family had such difficulty finding housing that they were half Filipino, father was Filipino, that the white mother eventually started telling people she was a missionary and had adopted her children just so she could get housing.
wow.
Yeah.
So what do you think we have learned, once you went through all this research, what can we learn from the experiences of people like you?
Well, I think we can learn that history really does matter. I think for a person who, like myself, who remembers life before the Civil Rights Movement, before Loving versus Virginia in 1967, that there were a different set of opportunities and choices available than there are now, and that we continue to grow as a society.
And we can change. It is possible.
I hope so.
Well, obviously, we've made some progress, and we shouldn't forget that, even when we worry about what's left to be done. Just quickly, because we don't have much time, but I wanted you to tell us the story in the book about Grace.
Grace. Yes, Grace is a wonderful, wonderful, eloquent, half African-American, half white woman who I interviewed. And that's a picture of her that you're seeing now. That is at her debutante ball at her all-black church. Her mother, you can see, wearing a hat, has dark hair, but in real life her mother did not have dark hair. Her mother dyed her hair so that she could better blend into the black community, which is where Grace grew up her entire life. And her mother had to disguise herself in order to marry Grace's father. Because it was illegal at the time. And she put on brown pancake makeup, brown stockings, a hat on her head, so that just to marry the man she loved.
Well, I think reading about the past helps us get to a better future. So thank you very much for this book.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Cathy Tashiro will discuss her book, Standing on Both Feet, Friday night at Elliott Bay Books in Seattle. She'll also lead a discussion about the current culture for mixed-race Americans. That event gets underway at 7. We've posted details on all of this online, and we'd love to hear your stories about your own family. Please share those on Facebook and our Twitter pages anytime you like.